what a year for you and for your alma mater. You're a proud '88 grad of the green and white. You get a state title in a year that some of the best teams brought their best effort. It wasn't without trials, tribulations. It was with a young team mixed with a couple veterans. You put it all together and brought home the first state title ever to your alma mater. What a great feeling it must have been. Take us through this journey of a season that really is groundbreaking for you and your alma mater.
Well, it's really been a culmination of maybe 3 or 4 years, with COVID and with the abbreviated season we had in 2020, where we felt we had a great chance to win the state championship, and it was cut short, And then the following year we come back and we are 14-1, and we individually get eliminated, So we had quite a few of the same kids that were part of what we were doing, and really you establish a goal and you set these lofty goals, and everybody has similar goals, but when you actually carry it out and you reflect on it, it's really amazing. It really is, just to sit back and think that we won the state championship, Division I, state of Michigan. That's a big deal, and I'm talking with Mac right now just about things that seem like a long time ago, but to us it seems like just yesterday. Still being able to remember what somebody did maybe 20 years ago. So that's where it becomes surreal. That's where you really get the gratification of your accomplishments, and it's just phenomenal, and it still feels good.
Yeah, I was telling Chad earlier, the first time I saw you guys play in person this year, saw you ranked number one, and was expecting to see, honestly, a bigger roster than you guys had. It wasn't the tallest group, basically. It's a lot of guys similar size, but played a lot tougher. And toughness is something that I know that we used to talk about when our teams played, pressing all the time. You got to have that toughness. I thought this might not have been the biggest team you guys have, but I thought right off the get, this was the toughest team I've seen that you had. Can you speak a little bit on that?
I just think that we have an identity and a program, something that we can identify with, something where we know who we are and we know what we're about. And everybody knows what we're about and who we want to be, and that's something that when I went to college I learned with all of the technology. It's not so much about people knowing what you're going to do. It's about, who's going to be better, me at being who I am or you are preparing for who I am, So I just don't really worry about people maybe knowing what we're going to do. It's just about us mastering who we are. And this was probably the most gratifying group, just with us being somewhat undersized, and it looked like we had, some things working against us, but we were tough. We loved one another. We played for each other. We had a mission, and it was very gratifying. And I agree with your sentiment. That's pretty much how I perceived us also.
Yeah.
It was a mix of veterans and some youngsters that got introduced that are now some of the nation's highest rated. And, of course, ACUF. And you've coached multiple ACUFs. But this was a special one, and he sort of introduced himself to everybody this season. But he wasn't the only character out there. Just talk about the cohesiveness of this team and how it all blended just right with enough youth and enough, veterans. Robertson's a guy that pops into the Walker, all these guys in the youth and Sadler. I mean, it all came around perfectly. How did you form it all?
So I can remember a couple years ago where some people said we weren't very good, and it's gratifying because these are some of the same kids. They were just 2 years younger, and I remember a few years back when Ypsilanti Lincoln won the championship and Imani Bates, was getting most of the acclaim, but he was surrounded by 3 or 4 seniors that were veterans, that were tough, that played together, and he was the headliner, but those guys made it happen, so we had that dynamic also, Kai Walker and Christian Hairston, those guys were Sean Hodges' 3- and 4-year varsity players.
Yeah.
They were seasoned, and they had a conversation with me mid-season, just to tell me that, we had some of our headliners were youthful, and just for us to manage that appropriately, it's a tough dynamic when you're a 3 or 4 year player and everybody's enamored with the guys that came behind them, but they were special, and they helped lend perspective to the whole group, and that had a lot to do with our success. We had seasoned veteran guys with a high maturity level that love one another, and that's why I think it was able to come together.